like it or not, virtually every facet of life comes with a set of rules. It's not just at work, but when we drive, at the market, and even at home, there are general rules by which our society agrees and operates. Obviously, we can choose to ignore the rules, but there are consequences for all such actions. The rules that we create in schools and called expectations, they serve two key functions. First, they help to maintain a safe environment which learning can be maximized. Second, they mirror larger societal norms for behavior, setting students up for success outside school. Teachers are very good at predicting the types of problems students are likely to have in different areas and contexts, especially the classroom. As you listen to these JCPS teachers describe the problems they see, you'll also hear a bit of frustration in their voices. We all find misbehavior to be a challenge.
Movement, just like constant movement, whether it's in your desk, whether it's with your stuff, you're moving around, you're making noise, whether it's getting up and moving around. And then when you try to redirect them or say, hey, like, where are you going? They're, I'm getting a tissue. But then like they'll sit there and blow their nose while they're staring at everybody in the class, making a really loud noise, just trying to get some extra attention. And then when they walk back to their desk, they're gonna tap every single person that they pass. And I mean, it's hard to get on them because it's like, what do you get onto them for, blowing their nose? But you have to sit there and talk to them about the specifics. Well, when you did that, you didn't have to do this along with it. You could have just blown your nose going back to your desk. And
disrespect for the teachers, also for the classmates as well. The horseplay and the fighting.
Language, cursing everybody out. If it escalates, if you ask them to do something, I'm not gonna have to do this. This work is boring, or this is stupid, or cursing out not only other students but the teachers as well. Sometimes administrators.
I can't recall a time when students were given freedom to interact and then were able to, persevere through the desire to be off task. And so it's a little bit of an off task issue, but I'd say way more. Their conversation is engaging to each other, but their language very quickly deconstructs into being hurtful, rude. And so unless my presence is like right there, I can't guarantee that. And so there's a huge temptation as a teacher to want to keep all interactions whole class, even though I believe with my whole heart and soul that they need that social and emotional building as a team and as a class. So you kind of have to sacrifice one for the other.
Passive non-compliance, when they say, okay, I'll do it, then they don't, they still don't.
So just not doing it.
Yeah, like when you ask them to take their hood down, they might take it down halfway, and then the second they think they're out of eye shot, it goes right back up.
The phone is a constant battle, especially with middle school students, because once you tell them we don't want to see it, if we hear it, it's mine. Well, I don't understand that. We'll turn it off. It's very simple. You've been given a directive. I shouldn't have to talk to you twice about a cell phone. You know the cell phone policy.
School and classroom expectations start as the basic parameters we set for student behavior. Things like respect for others and being responsible. But instruction requires more explicit examples of behaviors that clarify the expectations. For example, the expectation might be responsible, which is defined as being accountable for your actions. This is taught using examples that demonstrate maintaining control to do the right thing for your well-being and the well-being of your school. This is what we teach to every student, and it is part of the culture of the school. But the expectations are specific to locations or conditions. So we teach students to be to class on time, to keep moving during hallway passing, and to complete their assigned work, all as examples of the be responsible expectation. Further, by the time students get to middle and high school, they should definitely be familiar with such basic expectations. However, we can't afford to make this assumption. Some may have been taught different expectations at home, and others may be aware of the expectations, but seem to often forget.
I think that some of the disruption can also be cultural, because I've had some kids that are generally just loud, or they curse in regular conversation. And so I try to explain to them, hey, we don't do that here. And I'll call mom, she's loud, and she curses. So, a lot of it is the home life and the culture. Like, okay, I understand now why you cuss at me in casual conversation like I'm one of your buddies, because you cuss at your mom like that when you have casual conversation with her.
Say the end of the day is where I feel like we see it a lot. I mean, even today a kid said it's 1:45, it's almost the end of the day, and I was like, no, we still have almost 30 minutes, of learning to do. And so, they get to that last period and they kind of forget about all the expectations, that we've worked so hard to set forth for them the rest of the day.
It is critically important that all school-wide and classroom expectations be tied to larger conceptual expectations. That is, whenever we talk to a student about what we expect, we should frame it as connected to one of the larger school expectations that have been taught as part of PBIS. When we don't do this, the students come to see your expectations as random and arbitrary. And research has shown that such disconnected expectations will often be forgotten within 30 seconds. Listen to the following teacher-described misbehaviors and consider what expectations should be taught as a part of a solution.
It's a respect thing all the way around because, for instance, today we had a young man, he had a hat on in the building. 3 different people had to tell him to take the hat off. He still didn't do it. Principal said something, then a teacher said something, another teacher said something. So, it's just not with the headphones, because that's one thing, but it's just a respect. It's just the respect in general that, many of them just don't have that respect for the authority.
Students who act out or refuse to comply are a common problem reported by secondary teachers. Having a school-wide expectation to be responsible provides a perfect context for teaching how being accountable for your own behavior and your own well-being entails following directions in a timely manner.
Well, and sometimes I feel like they might joke on each other, your mama this, and not realizing that something had happened to that student's mom, and then that sets them off. So I feel like the students sometimes are just saying things to say things, not realizing the effect it's actually going to have on somebody.
Because the problem this teacher predicts involves students disrespecting one another, reiterating the school-wide expectation to respect others can lead to teaching examples of peer-to-peer conversations that are and are not good examples of respect.
It's the direction or the redirection, and then the negotiations you have to go through after that. So the teacher, us, if we are given a direction or a redirection, the child goes into its pattern, its coping skills of dealing with, of trying to get out, weasel, half and half, look at them, look at somebody else. I don't have time for all that. And then you up your game a little bit, turns into disrespect. Maybe but they feel, oh, now you raise your voice to me, now they get all this and that. So a little thing of get your pencil paper out, put your phone away, turned into a referral for cussing and stepping up.
This teacher is describing a problem with students accepting consequences in a responsible manner, or being accountable for their behavior. Because these are predictable problems, the school should focus on teaching examples of what being responsible looks like when receiving corrections from an adult. Get together with your team and spend about 5 minutes discussing the following. Do you have a set of agreed upon school expectations from which all of your classroom expectations are connected to your school-wide expectations? Further, what types of student misbehaviors are most predictable for you in the classroom, and how do you teach expectations for these issues? It's likely that all teachers have at least some expectations that are communicated to students. But there are 3 key features of effective expectations that teachers can consider to maximize the probability of student success. Let's take a look at each of these. Effective expectations are taught in a positive manner, teaching the student what we want as opposed to what we don't want. While this seems reasonable, expectations for behavior are very often written in a negative manner. No running, no talking, no hitting. This is not the way we teach academics. You would never see a teacher say, on the board are 10 incorrect answers to this problem. Memorize them all. It makes far more sense to simply tell the students what we want them to do.
Explicitly taught. Classroom rules should always be stated in the positive. Like, so many times I'll hear adults, best intentions, tell a kid, don't run. and they hear run, and then they just keep running. You gotta say walk please, you gotta say walk please, you gotta say walk please. So positively stating everything.
Our second consideration is in regard to the total number of expectations. As a general rule of thumb, students can predictably recall 3 to 5 items when connected to a larger concept. Thus, we should aim to have no more than 3 to 5 expectations for any particular location or activity. This means that there may be 3 to 5 unique expectations in the hallway, at the locker, and in the cafeteria, and in each individual teacher's room. And that's okay. But remember, when not connected to our prior knowledge or larger expectations, even a very few expectations are likely not to be remembered. The third key feature of effective expectations is each expectation is concrete enough to be modeled by the teacher and then recognized by the students. Expectations such as think positively are stated in a positive term, but are not necessarily able to be observed as we do not know what the students are thinking. We want students to be very clear as to what is expected and to be able to engage in a positive behavior to get attention from the teacher. Another good rule of thumb is that if you can't engage in a physical model for the students, it probably is not sufficiently concrete to be a classroom expectation. Get together with your team and consider the degree to which your classroom has a clearly defined set of 3 to 5 expectations. How can you tweak your existing expectations to make them align with the 3 key features? Second, consider the degree to which these same features apply to locations and context across the school. Teaching expectations involves the same set of effective instructional procedures as any other type of teaching. It starts with an explicit description that connects back to school-wide expectations or prior learning, then provides modeling with opportunities for student engagement and guided practice. Again, regardless of whether you're teaching math, reading, social skills, or the basics of your expectations for quiet work time, effective instruction is the same. At the secondary level, the instruction must be explicit, but much of it comes in the form of discussion with the students, providing them with a logic for the expectations and working through examples.
I find what works better for me is making sure that the kids understand that they have a choice in whatever happens. So I'm like, look, you can choose to have a good day, you can choose to have a bad day, that's on you. So I find that works best, especially with my EBD students, because I'm not sure how their interactions were with other teachers or their families at home or whatever the case may be. It always seems to roll around every time I have a personal conversation with them. They don't have power or control over a certain situation or something that's bothering them. So I let them know, I give them a choice. Like, look, you can choose to not do the work. That's your choice. But when you don't get the results you're looking for, that's on you. That's not on me. If they can see that it's their choice to whether they can have good behaviors or not, whether they can be respectful or not, well, like I kind of alluded to earlier, it's all on making the kids take responsibility for their behaviors. Because a lot of times, especially what I've seen with a lot of the teachers that have been set in their ways, have been doing the same thing for years and years, it's that whole my way or the highway strategy. And then it looks like you're punishing them. But whenever they're, if they're not compliant, or they're disrespectful, or they're getting sent out of class for, fighting or whatever, you have to take it back to them. Like, look, you chose to do that. No matter what happens, you control your body. Nobody else controls you. You have the choice to make the right decision. And so I base everything in my classroom on choices. I seem to get the best response out of that. If they're just being disrespectful, I'm like, look, man, hopefully next time you'll choose to not disrespect me, and you'll choose to come to my classroom and get ready to learn. And I got expectations for you. Hopefully, next time you'll choose to have the same expectations as I do for you. You know what I'm like? I like to instill in them that everything you do is a choice. It's all about your choices, and it's helping them see that they can make positive ones. There's some of the kids, they've been beaten down so long, or for so many years, they think that they can't do it. They can't do it. You can make the right choice starting today.
Take a look at the following examples and see if you can spot these effective components in each.
All right, guys, so we're just gonna go over our agreements, okay? Our expectations again. So we do have the agreements. Actually, you guys came up with them along with me. So let's just talk about what our first agreement looks like. Can someone name one of the agreements that we actually have? Okay. Thank you. You can pass it back. Being present. Can someone tell me what that looks like? What we've kind of discussed over the few days. What does being present look like? Yes, Peyton.
About coming to school and doing your
Okay, so being present, actually being here. Okay, what else does being present look like? Paying attention. So I would say staying focused. What about, there's another one that's really important to me that we've discussed, keeping it safe. So what does that mean? What does keeping it safe mean?
Yeah, keeping it safe, like when somebody's feeling their feelings out and being emotional about what they say, you can't laugh and make fun of them.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, so again, being respectful, that is a really big thing here. So you have something to say, Jaden, about that, being respectful?
Don't talk when the teacher's talking.
Okay, don't talk when the teacher's talking. I love that. That's great.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about responsibility, being a responsible student. So can someone tell me, what does it mean to be responsible?
Can't we just follow the rules?
Well, that's part of it. Part of it is following the rules. But let's say, you're over here with your friends, you have an assignment due tomorrow, and they're talking. What would be the responsible thing for you to do?
Finish the assignment.
Great, Maggie. Yeah, responsibility tells you you need to finish the assignment. Imagine, got a lot of athletes in here, probably have aspirations of being professional athletes. Do you think in the off season, Eli Manning just sits around and does nothing, eats whatever he wants, doesn't go to the gym? You think he does that? No. He's hitting the gym. He's responsible. He wants to get there. He's working out. He's trying to make himself better. So imagine you're out in the hallway. The first bell's rung. You have about less than 2 minutes to get to class. Your friends are standing around talking. What would a responsible student do? Millie?
Go to class.
Yeah, good job. A responsible student would go to class. So great job. I can tell right now, you all know what it means to be responsible students.
Welcome to class, you all. Today we're going to work on dealing with responsibility, okay, being responsible. So we've talked about when you come to computer lab and you come to the class, what are some things that you have to do to be responsible when working with this equipment? Ravenice.
Eating and drinking.
Why is that important?
So you won't have everything dirty.
Good, good. Anybody else? Hitesh.
Logging in and logging out of your computer.
Logging in and logging out. Why is that important?
So no one can go in your computer and mess up your stuff.
Good, good. So I want you guys to go ahead and log in for me. And again, if you have food or drink, remember, we talked about that as part of our responsibility. Put it away, okay? Put it away. Once you get logged in, I want you to go ahead and pull up the software we've been using, which is Photoshop. And go ahead and open up the project we were working on yesterday. So we're going to use our skills that we learned with the panel effect, okay, in order to create 2 new ones.
Tomato is a
Oh
fruit.
my God, you're so wrong. You are so wrong. It's a vegetable. It is a vegetable.
Excuse me, y'all. Do you all mind lowering your voices so we can be respectful in the hallway?
How's being loud and disrespectful?
Like if we look at Mr. Bauer's class, he's taking a test in there, they're doing lessons are going on, and I just want to make sure we're not disturbing that environment. Do you see how that would be respectful?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Get together with your team and consider whether you have all the expectations you need in your classroom and that they are taught using the key features. In addition, consider your own students' unique behaviors of concern. And what are the behaviors that you need to teach to students in order to avoid those predictable misbehaviors?